Okay, so we'll go ahead and get started. If you guys can all see my screen. So what you're looking at is the new login page for X-1 SinglePoint. A lot of what you're going to see is going to look similar to the app that you're currently used to seeing. We just added some enhancements, some very high demand enhancements that we know customers have been asking for. One of the biggest enhancements that I think is going to save a lot of people time, and a lot of people have asked us for this, is the login page, simple login page. So now with SinglePoint 3.0, you're going to type in your username. And if you've already put in your username on this device, you'll see the option for your username to select from. So in this example, I'm under the GMS Tech login. I logged in earlier today. So now I'm logging in again, and the app is already telling me, hey, do you want to log in using this username? All I have to do, instead of typing in my username and password again, all I have to do is click on my username here. And then I just have to enter a 4-digit PIN. And if you haven't created the PIN yet, no need to worry. You don't need to go to the desktop or inside or talk to X-1 support to do it. You could create the PIN right from SinglePoint for the first time, and you'll just use that PIN moving forward. So I did something simple, 1, 2, 3, 4, but you guys can put whatever PIN you like. All right, so just like that, with a 4-digit PIN, we're able to log into SinglePoint 3.0. And so what we see here is it almost looks kind of like we're using the same layout, which we are, but right away you're going to notice a little bit of differences. You're going to see the design color schemes have kind of changed. We also added a big plus button, which I'm going to show you here in a second. And if we look down at the bottom tabs, we have the schedule tab where it used to be, but we flipped the fueling tab as the second because SinglePoint is a fueling app and fueling is priority for us. It just made more sense from a workflow perspective that the fueling should be the very next thing you click on right after the scheduling. Then we have services and profile. One of the things that's new about SinglePoint 3.0 is this location filter here. So we'll be able to select the locations and organize by locations. So think of this for those FBOs that do fuelings in other locations, other ramps, whether it's airlines or cargo, or maybe even flight schools. You're going to have that locations options here so that you can narrow down to seeing just the request for that location. We also added the sort by option here. So now instead of only sorting by next occurrence, so whatever the schedule thinks is coming in next, you could change it to search by order of tail number. So it'll organize it by order of tail number. So all the ones in the beginning going down to 2, 3, 4, 5s. Now, clicking the plus button here, you're going to see a few things here that are new. We have something called new fuel order, quick request, and quick quote. Quick quote was a big one that people had asked us for that we decided to add on here. And let me start first by clicking on quick quote. All right, so much like the quick quote inside the X-1 desktop request, you're going to be able to put your either tail number or model. So I'm going to go ahead and put in a tail number that's already in my database. Okay. And with that model automatically appearing, I could also choose payment method if I needed to, or fuel quantity. But immediately, imagine your line service being able to quote prices right on the ramp, not just your day prices, but like your fuel minimum. So you have a line service technician out by the plane, and the pilot's like, hey, how much do I need to take to waive this facility fee? Your line service technicians now have this information, and they don't have to call it in or walk around with a piece of paper. They can look at it right from here. Let me go back here. We also have quick request and new fuel order. I'm going to go and jump over to fuel order. Okay, so what new fuel order is, and let me just kind of go back here for a second and kind of explain it. One of the feedback that we got from some of these FBOs that are dealing with busy or high volumes or need to quickly put in information was that in SinglePoint, it's easy to create a standalone field ticket, but if you wanted to create a field ticket but also have it attached to a request and have that also show up on a pending service fueling list for a line service technician, that part wasn't so easy or straightforward. It was easy because the design was easy, but you still had to, the workflow was kind of all over the place. You had to go to the request, create the field ticket, but then if you wanted to go back to the truck, you had to click on the truck icon. So gathering that information and feedback, what we decided to do was we created this plus sign. The very first option is called new fuel order. So this is a way for you to create a fuel order, a request, add a card on file, and put it in your pending service list for that day, all at the same time in a very quick manner. So we'll go here real quick. New fuel order. I have tail number. I can create a new tail number if I want to, if it's not in the system. I could just go to my, I could just go to the add new tail, which is going to work just like how it's doing currently on its current version. Or I can select one that's been here before, that's in my database. It's going to automatically pop over with the ICAO, the field type. I could add a location now of where this plane is. Okay, if there's not a company there, you can change the company. Add credit card. So imagine your fuelers right from the aircraft being able to add a card on file right from SinglePoint. You also have the email and the phone number that you're going to be able to add right from here. Fuel order will advise. Let's do a top off. Okay, schedule departure. All right. And do we want to show it on the arrival departure board? Yes or no? All right, so that fuel order is saved, and we're going to be able to immediately go over to the fuel service pending list and see it from there. And so what I'm going to do is let me go ahead and select fueling icon. All right, perfect. So now under our fuel icon here, you're going to see all the refuelers, but you'll notice that we added a drop down. So instead of seeing all the tanks and all the trucks all the time, you can select to see just your Jet A or just your avgas or just your diesel. Just making it a little bit cleaner, easier when you're looking at it, not having to scroll as much, especially if you're one of the line service technicians that's always in jet or always in avgas, you don't have to worry about seeing all the other tanks and trucks at the same time. We're going to go ahead and select on Jet 2. All right. So this looks a little bit similar, but I'll point out the changes that we made. The truck log option is going to be up here on the right-hand side. Okay, and immediately as soon as we select the truck, you're going to see all the pending fuels for jet fuel that you could essentially do from this truck. You can sort these by tail number or occurrence as well. And you could also sort these by location. So if I want to see just the fuelings for Jet A that have been requested on the west ramp in this scenario, I would just go ahead and select west ramp, and it would narrow down just the pending fuelings that are on the west ramp. If I hit my plus button, now I have those same options that we had before, but it's just hidden. That way it's not cluttering up the screen. So if I need to do a top off, transfer, fuel load, we also added defuel, which is something that we didn't have before on the SinglePoint. Recirculation, external top off. So a lot of the same of what you're seeing, but also some new features like the defuel here. So I'm going to go ahead and select this fueling, and we're going to finish it. Here we have complete fuel. Now we have the option to do the fuel on board right from SinglePoint, or you could edit the field service. Okay. This is information and feedback that we also got from our customers. We had the ability to add the notes. We've always had the ability to add these notes from the X-1 desktop, but we never had it from SinglePoint, where the line service is doing the majority of the fielding, which didn't quite make sense. So we added it here. This is an optional page. If your team is not in the habit or is required to collect any of this information for their fielding, they could just skip right over to the next screen. But at least now for those FBOs that do require flight numbers, do require putting some kind of reference number, and they do require the nozzle pressure, filter DP, the pre-check, you have all that here right from your hand as you're doing the fielding. All right, so here we have our completing field screen. Again, looks a little bit similar to what you guys were seeing before, just a little bit cleaner. Obviously, if you have Cloud Connect devices, you would be taken to this screen with all the completed information once that field ticket is generated. In this case, I'm just going to go ahead and create my own manual field ticket. Okay, positive, negative, and then the notes. All right, perfect. We just completed a field ticket successfully. And immediately it takes us to, this was another feedback we got from you guys, was that when you did field tickets, if you needed to send an email or grab a signature in the current version of SinglePoint, as soon as you completed the field ticket, you would have to go back into the truck log, access the ticket to then get to this screen. So we heard what you guys are saying. We completely agree. We added the steps here immediately as soon as you finish the field ticket. And then you also have a summary page of your fielding that you just did. So currently in your SinglePoint, you have that successful message that pops up where it says you have successfully created a field ticket or field transaction with the field operation number, but then the message just kind of goes away. So here we're taking you now to a screen where you can revise, again, everything that you just completed. And if you did need to go ahead and send an email or request a signature, you could do it right from here without having to step back into any previous pages. Okay. Now, another thing that we added over here on the services is we added the pending services. One of the feedback that we got was that with SinglePoint, because we've made the buttons kind of bigger to use since people are using their thumbs, we intentionally, the design, we've made some of the buttons bigger, but or the layout for the lines and the rows bigger. But because of that, in some cases, it requires you to scroll a lot. This is one of those pages where it would require you to scroll a lot. So instead of having the rows of pages that say all the SinglePoint services that you do outside, now we have it in a bubble format here. So you can quickly see, okay, I got 4 rental cars, I have 4 labs to do, we have 1 GPU that's waiting, I got 8 Jet A's that are waiting. And you could also see it in the dispatched order for those of you that are using the X-1 SinglePoint Plus dispatch option. And that is pretty much SinglePoint 3.0. I'm trying to think if I have left anything out. Jess, can you think of anything that I'm leaving out?
Oh. I don't think so.
Let me let Jeanette join. Okay, I'm going to open up. For those of you that have a question or a comment, if you just want to type in yes in the chat, and I'll open up your mic. Vicky wants to speak. Okay, let me approve. All right, and Richard. Okay, Vicky, I believe I opened up your mic if you want to go ahead first. And then Richard, let me go over to you and open up your mic. Okay. And Christy. Okay. Vicky, I opened up your mic, but it says you're on mute if you want to speak. Richard, I opened up your mic as well. Oh, there's Christy and Vicky. Perfect.
So this is Vicky. I clicked on that by mistake right when we first started. So I really don't have a question.
Oh, well, it's nice to hear your voice.
I thought I was going to mute it because I thought I'm not on mute, but I didn't realize everyone was already on mute. So that's generated that message to you. So I'm going to mute myself.
Okay, well, thanks for joining.
So
right.
Caroline, one of the things that I know we talked about is the ability to either have the system auto refresh or provide an alert when a new fueling shows up, because the guys are constantly having to refresh manually. Is that option in this?
The auto refresh is already on this SinglePoint 3.0 that you see here. So as soon as you guys get it, you'll already have the auto refresh. The notifications, however, we are still working on that. It will be part of 3.0, one of the future iterations. We just haven't finalized that entirely just yet.
No, the auto update is huge though, because I know the guys are constantly having to just scroll to get it to update. So that's huge if it's doing it automatically.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And then I think Richard, let me see here real quick. Richard, I think I had, let me just double check. Yeah, I think I had given you access. Oh, there you are. Hey, Richard.
Yep, I just figured out how to unmute. I had a couple of quick things. One was a question. I know in the presentation last month, you had talked about how they would be able to add a new customer or to change the customer on a request through SinglePoint. Is that still happening with this release?
So we do have that coming out in this release. It's not in this first iteration of 3.0. So, but we will have it coming out during the 3.0 version.
Okay. And then just another another observation. The screen where the fueler can enter in the differential pressure and nozzle pressure and all that. Workflow wise, it looks a little bit awkward just because they're not going to have that data to enter in until they've actually begun the fueling. And so it seems like you would kind of skip past it, check your meter number, then have to go back as you start fueling to enter the things in. It would almost make sense to have that screen either afterwards or even have it integrated on the meter screen.
Okay, and let me ask you a question, Richard. So flight number, reference number, right? Those could be in the beginning. These two specifically are the ones you're referring to, the nozzle pressure and the filter DP?
And the pre-check, actually.
And the pre-check. Okay, let me just make a note of that. Hold on one second. Thank you for that. Nozzle pressure, filter, DP. Okay, yeah, no, thank you for that feedback. I really appreciate that. I'll definitely bring that up to our team, see if there's any way we can leave the flight and reference number here in the beginning, but then we could put this other stuff on the back end of the fuel ticket.
Probably. And then, I guess the only other question is if when we are going to be beta testing the new app, how and when do we get that actually installed on the devices?
Yeah, so Jeanette, I'm granting you access, by the way. The whole purpose of doing this workshop, this webinar, was to get you guys that are possibly doing the beta for us, to get you guys to see it. So now that we have recorded it, we're going to put it on our YouTube channel and send everybody links to it. So as soon as we finish, like, the whole purpose of doing this workshop was then to ask you guys now when you're ready for it. So if we could schedule next Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday, if you're ready for us to install it. Like I said in the beginning, if you heard me, we're going to we could add this app to all your devices while you still have the current app. And then whenever you're ready to let your staff know, hey, this date, this time, let's start using, or if you just want to ask 2 of your guys to use the app and test it for you while the other guys stay in the current version, there's no issues with that either. If some people are on the old version and some people are on the new version, it'll work the same. So if you're interested, I can get you in touch with, I know Jeanette's been in contact with you guys. If you're interested, just let us know what date next week. If you want to let us know now on this call, or just want to send us an email afterwards, let us know what date next week you guys feel like you're ready to start, and we'll coordinate and put the app. It's really quick. It only takes us like a few minutes to download the new app on your devices. Okay, and yeah, we are recording this session, Chase, so we'll make sure everyone that logged in today will get an email link automatically to the recording. But either way, we're going to put the recording up on our YouTube channel, and we'll have access to it from the support bubble icon. You'll be able to go in and see access to that from there as well. All right. Richard, so would you like us to get you guys started next week sometime Monday, Tuesday? Thanks, Christy. Yeah, okay, perfect. So we'll coordinate that with you guys. Anyone else have any other questions? I knew this was going to be a quick call. That's why I only made it 30 minutes, but we could stay on longer if anyone else has any questions. All right, thanks, William. We appreciate it. We appreciate everybody joining. I know this is kind of last minute, so thank you guys joining. Thank you guys for those on this call that have already agreed to be, further beta testers for us. We really appreciate feedback like this. Like I said, a lot of the stuff that we put into what you've seen in 3.0 is because of feedback that we've gotten. And so, even just like the remark that Richard said right now about the workflow for the nozzle and filter pressure being on the back side of the fuel ticket versus the front side of the fuel ticket, like all that is great information, and we highly appreciate you guys jumping on and being willing to provide us with that information. So thank you guys so much. Jess, Jeanette, any other remarks or comments before we end the webinar?
No, just I will send an email out to all of our beta testers just to coordinate a day next week when they would like us to activate the app. Other than that, no further remarks.
Awesome. All right, folks. Well, again, thank you guys so much for joining. We'll send you guys the links to this recording. You'll also see pop-ups when you log in about the YouTube channel. So if you want to show it to anyone else, it's pretty straightforward. Just, a couple of new features that have just higher impact. I think for me personally, I think being able to save the credit cards on the ramp is huge, and being able to do the quick quote is huge. Because I do hear that a lot. That's still something that I hear when I go to FBOs, is the chatter over the radio. Oh, how much is this? Or how much do we use to waive? Because that is important information your line service might want to know. So I think those 2 features alone will kind of help drive some more efficiencies to your FBOs. So again, always open to feedback. Thank you guys so much for joining. I'm going to go ahead and end this call now, and have a great weekend. Have a great Friday, guys.